Hello once again, friends. Do you ever worry about your community folder? Do you ever wonder if it will adversely affect you if you put too many items into your community folder? Are you ever concerned about how the simulator will operate if you place a lot of mods and scenery into your community folder? If you're not concerned, then maybe you should be. You can put enough mods and items into the community folder where it will have adverse effects on how the simulator operates and loads. In this video, I'm going to give you some solutions to your community folder problem that you may have or you eventually might have. In the first part of the video, I will run my tutorial series, a very short video on how to use the tools in the SDK. And then I have an overview that was previously recorded that shows you how you can manage your community folder. And the last section of the video will be detailed on how to install this program. If you're not familiar with my channel, I build the videos in chapters. So if I'm presenting something that you already know, you can simply bypass it. Or if it's something you need to watch again, you can replay it. Or you can jump to a chapter in the video that has the information you're looking for. And it's a very simple thing to do. On any of the videos, you come down to the description, as you see here. You click on the More button. And once you open the More button, you will see the chapters of the video, along with any link that may be relevant to the content of the video. Also, if you scroll down, you can see the chapters. So, with that out of the way, I will begin with my short tutorials, move into the overview, and finally an explanation on how to install the mod. To build scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, you must be in developer's mode. And this is a very simple process, and I'll walk through it. First, you go to Options, go to General Options, you go to Developers, On, Apply and Save. Once in developer's mode, you will see a menu appear at the top. I refer to this often as the developer's menu. In addition to being in developer's mode, you must have SDK, and this is a very simple process. You go up to the developer's menu, you find the Help, you tick on Help, and then you tick on SDK Installer Core, and a window will open up and SDK will load in. And from that point, you can decide where you want the SDK. I'm going to tick off of this because I already have it. I put SDK on my C drive and I called the folder MSFS SDK. But you can place SDK where you want to place it. In addition to that, it's always good to go in and get the samples. And from the same help menu, you want to go down to samples. And again, you will download the samples. I'm going to stop it because I already have the samples. And once you download the samples, you can go into your SDK folder that you built. And you can find samples by ticking on the samples folder. And there's all kinds of samples here, but the one most often used is the one called Simple Scenery. Let's talk about the developer camera. The developer camera is something that is vital and something that you will use often. And to get to the developer camera, you go up to the developer menu, tick on Camera, and tick on Developer Camera. Operating the developer camera is a lot like operating the drone camera. So I'll show you the keys that we use to operate the developer camera. If we want to drop, we hit the F key. If we want to rise, we hit the R key. If we want to go left, we use the A key. And if we want to go right, we use the D key. If we want to go forward, we use the W key. And if we want to go in reverse, we use the S key. There's also some numerical keys that you can use. On the number pad, the 4 key will spin you. and the 6th key will spin you in the opposite direction. The 8 key will tilt your camera up, and the 2 key will tilt your camera down. Occasionally when you're building scenery, your azimuth will get off. So that's very easy to correct by using the 7 key or the 9 key. And then you can correct your azimuth. You can also use the mouse and freely move around. By holding down the left Alt key and by using your left mouse button, you're able to move anywhere you want to move. Also, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out. Almost always, this is a process I go through. I'll tick on the developer camera. I will drop to the ground using the F key. Then I will use the left Alt key and the left mouse button to make sure I can spin in small areas. That is the fine control of the camera I'm looking for. What I don't want is this. You see what happened there? As soon as I got in and I used my mouse button to move, look how far I am from my aircraft. So again, to the developer camera, drop down with the F key, and with the left Alt key depressed and the left mouse button, make sure you can make minute movements. And now you're good to go and ready to use the developer camera. Let's talk about the tools that we need to build scenery. In most projects, it's very simple. The items which you use to build scenery are typically in your scenery library already. There are exceptions though. If you are bringing a 3D model into the sim, that would be an exception. If you are using the Earth to MSFS tool, that is another exception. And on occasion, you may need a text editor. I will explain the reason for the text editor once I do a video where the text editor is needed. For starters, put a folder on your desktop that you will use as your working scenery folder. I have one here and I will show you what I have in it. All I have in it is a simple scenery folder I downloaded from SDK, and I do have a thumbnail. In the simple scenery folders that you download through this version of SDK, a thumbnail is not mandatory because there is a standard thumbnail within the scenery package. However, on all of my projects, I choose to have a thumbnail. And it's your choice where you want to go with the standard thumbnail in the scenery folder or if you want your own. If you decide you want to make your own thumbnail, the thumbnail has to be the precise dimensions of this thumbnail I use, 412 by 170 pixels. No other size will work. So if you build your own thumbnail, please keep this rule in mind. Hello everybody and welcome to another video in my series for scenery building for MSFS 2020. Today I'm going to talk about managing the community folder. I have put a significant amount of time into making videos to teach how to add custom scenery through SDK. Scenery files can become an issue though, but it depends upon how involved you get into making scenery. Once I started making scenery files, I enhanced most every location I enjoyed flying. I brought in many Earth to MSFS files to improve locations with standard AI-generated scenery by adding the 3D aerial photogrammetry. After several months of making scenery files, I started to notice MSFS 2020 was taking longer and longer to load. At one point, the simulator was taking 20 plus minutes to start. And suddenly it occurred to me that all of my added scenery files were slowing down the loading process. I will step through the process I use to solve the loading issues and better manage my community folder. I can't say with certainty how many scenery files that I have built, but I do know I built in the neighborhood of 400 scenery files. That is a very large amount of files to keep in the community folder. It certainly will slow down the loading of the simulator. And now I'm going to show you what my community folder looks like right at this moment. Here is the community folder, and you will notice that I use AIG traffic. So AIG is in my community folder. I use the FS2 crew pushback, and you see that in my community folder. I also use Navigraph, and you can see Navigraph in my community folder. I'm presently flying the PMG 737-700, and so you see PMG in my community folder. And that's all you see in my community folder. I built a separate scenery folder, which I keep on my D drive on my computer. And I organized all of my files. So for example, if I click on global scenery, inside of the global scenery are mods that I run most of the time, if not all of the time. And I have an international folder, which simply has Aruba and St. Martin, the only two locations outside of the United States that I've added scenery work to. I have a folder for liveries, and then from that point, I organize this folder based on states within the United States. As you can see, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, and so it goes. I'm from Kentucky and now live in Tennessee, so if I take a look at Tennessee, this will give you an example of how I organize things. Inside of Tennessee are the major cities that I fly over. There's Chattanooga, the Knoxville, Tennessee area, Memphis, Nashville, where I live, and the Smoky Mountain areas. If I look in Nashville, I primarily make a folder for lights and a folder for earth. I have one for bridges where I replace the ugly bridges around Nashville. I have one for earth. And inside the earth folder, I have the different folders for the different cities around the Nashville area. And then in lights, I have a lot of lights. I believe I have around 40 light packages just for Nashville. So this is how I organize my scenery by states and by cities. And none of these files are in my community folder. This is the tool that I use. And maybe many of you already have this tool. It's called MSFS Add-On Linker. And how this tool works is once you load the tool, you will point the tool to your scenery folder. And then you will point it to your community folder. So over here are the files that are currently in my community folder. Over here are all the folders and files in the folder that I just showed you. And you can see it's lined up absolutely the same. So for example, if I want to fly from Nashville to Boston, then I would open up Massachusetts. I would click on Boston, and I would pull in the files that I want. Typically, I would use all the Boston files, so I would just tick on Boston. I can't show you because this doesn't work with the simulator running. Then I would go down to Tennessee, find Nashville, and highlight the files I want moved in my community folder from Nashville. Something else I might do, for example, if I'm flying from Nashville to Boston, I do know the route is going to take me over Charleston, West Virginia. So most likely I will go to West Virginia, find Charleston, and pick up the light files for Charleston so I can see the city lit up as I fly over, particularly at night. During the daytime it doesn't matter, but at nighttime it's pretty cool to see cities that you've lit up as you fly over them. So I do recommend that you get the MSFS add-on linker, and I do recommend that you organize your scenery files, because if you continue to poke scenery files in the community folder, you're eventually going to have slow load times and potentially see crashes to desktop. Now I'm going to walk through the installation of the MSFS Add-Ons linker. I'm going to create the folders that I need, install the tool, and show you how to set the tool up. Now as I go through installing the folders, this is simply a suggestion. You are free to do whatever you want to do. You may have better methods of working with folders in Windows than I do, and that's fine. Use your methods. I'm going to show you how I do it. The process is not important. What is important is we reach the bottom line together. Before we download the free mod, I'm going to set up a couple of folders. One folder to install the mod in, and another folder where I will place my MSFS 2020 scenery files. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to place my folder on the D drive. So I'm going to open the D drive. I'm going to right click and open New and Folder. and I'm going to give the folder a temporary name because I'm going to delete this folder after the video. I gave it a name starting with 01 so it'll be easy for me to find, because 01 is going to push it to the top of the list of this drive. So now I have an empty folder for scenery, and now I'm going to add another folder to install the MSFS add-on linker in. You can put your scenery folder and the tool in any folder you want, whatever name you want. These are just names I'm using for the sake of making a video. So again, new folder, and I'm going to give it the name 02 MSFS add-on linkers. These two will be the top folders on the drive, and it's just simple for me to find it that way to make a video. So when I refresh my D drive, I do see the scenery folder I created, and I see the folder I created for the add-ons linker. And now I'm going to open up the folder I keep all of my scenery in, and I'm going to copy a couple over. And now I'm going to bring my scenery folder over. Let's pretend this is not my scenery folder, this is my community folder. For you, if you do not have this tool, this will be your community folder. For me, since I already have the tool, and already using the tool, and already have a scenery folder, I will be using my scenery folder. I'll grab Pennsylvania and copy it into the temporary folder. While that is copying, I will find another state to copy. I'm going to also copy New Jersey because there's not many scenery files in New Jersey, and it'll be a pretty quick copy. New Jersey and Pennsylvania are now copied and placed into my temporary folder for this video. And with that out of the way, I'm now going to open up the folder that I made for the add-ons linker. It's here, and now I'm going to move it out of the way and download the linker. The linker is downloaded, so I'm going to the download folder and grab the linker. I'm going to copy all of these files over to the temporary folder I made because I want them to extract into that folder. You can do it however you wish. Looks like I got all the folders. So now in my temporary add-ons linker folder, I'm going down to find the executable file, and here is the application file which will execute the program. There is also a README file. This program will do a lot more than I'm about to show you. I use this program in a very simplistic way. I'll only use it to point to my add-ons, but it will do a lot more. You may want to come to the Start application and make a shortcut, and you know how to do that. Just copy a shortcut, put it on your desktop or wherever you want it. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to start the program. The program needs to be run in administrator mode, so I'm going to right click and run as administrator. Because I already had this tool, it wants to point into the areas that it's configured for, so I'm going to change that and pretend it was a clean installation. And once it's installed, you want to go up to your settings, and on this page we want to browse and find our scenery folder. So I will remove the folder that I already have here, and now it's more like a fresh installation, so I'm going to hit add. And I'm going to navigate to my D drive, and there is the scenery folder I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit OK. Then you want to come down here and find your community folder. I already have mine in here, but you want to point to your community folder. And now I'm going to press OK. So over here on the right hand side, you see the items which are in my community folder. And all these items that you see, I want to stay in my community folder all the time, so that I did not place them into the scenery folder. These are items that I always want running in the community folder, and I will not use the linker for those folders. But over here on the left hand side, you see the two scenery folders that I moved to my temporary drive. So let's say I want to fly from New Jersey to Pennsylvania. So I can tick on this, and the only scenery I have in New Jersey is two light files. You can tick one more time and see exactly what they are. All of these lights are near New York, so I'll pretend I'm taking off in Teterboro, and I want all of them, so I'll just tick this and they all open up. And in Pennsylvania, I have a choice of Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. So let's pretend I'm going to Pittsburgh. So all I have to do is tick on Pittsburgh. And then you can close the program out. And now I'm going to bring up my community folder. And when I open up the community folder, you see the mods that I keep in the community folder all the time, like FSTL Traffic, FS2 Crew. Yes, I want those in there all the time. The folders that you see with the little white thing on it are the ones that are linked in through the add-on linker. I see Meadowlands lights, and I know that's part of New Jersey. And I see Pittsburgh lights, which I selected. We now know that we have made a symbolic link from our scenery folder to our community folder. And that's how the tool works. And I'll show you one more thing. I'll start the tool again. Run as administrator. And you see the two states that I put in here. And to get rid of those, all I have to do is click, empty the box, and now there are no folders from the add-on linker in my community folder. So this is a very handy tool, and it will keep your community folder from getting too full. It's easy to use, it's easy to install. It will save you a lot of time when you're loading up a flight or loading up the simulator in general to start. And I highly recommend this for folks that have a lot of scenery folders, particularly if you have a lot of Earth files. Earth files tend to be very large, and Earth files tend to really slow down the loading of the simulator and really increase the load time of a flight. I hope you got something from this video that will help you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and you're always welcome to leave a comment asking me to show you something that you may want to learn. So thank you again for watching Patriot 6, and we'll see you soon.